then this might have stopped already. So what you cannot do is to try to find ways to bypass a law that is not functioning because you don't want it to function.
And you're referring to the security to the fact that the Security Council has the legal power to put sanctions and military action. Yeah,
correct. And the permanent members, which are, I mean, we have 3 out of 5 permanent members of the Security Council that are members of NATO. and Europe normally acts as a bloc. So we basically have the Americans, the British, and then Europe having a veto. So so yeah, I mean, it's and then there is this question that keeps ringing in my head, which is NATO trying to override or absorb the functions that had been created for the Security Council? And it's so they rather make the mess they are doing in Europe than fix the Security Council or the Charter. And that is the problem, is the double standard and the hypocrisy of Europe that is part of this problem. It is not, but I mean, we can remember the invasion of Kosovo, right? The Serbia. They were members of NATO. NATO had no grounds to be there, and they just took over functions that would or should have been taken by the Security Council, and that was illegal, highly illegal, and nothing happened, and not even an apology, no, nothing happened. So, I mean, the problem here is that we are not looking at the root causes, not of the conflict, but the causes why the conflicts are not being solved, and the reasons why the Security Council is not able to deliver its functions. They will never, ever bring to the table the fact that the charter has to change. That the veto power was a fundamental flaw, breaking the equality of nations principle that the charter so much talks about. And that's a historical flaw that the Europeans and the powerful are not willing to fix. It's just arrogance that is best.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. It's utter arrogance. I would like to know what's your opinion on Article 51, since we are talking about changing the charter. Article 51 is the self-defense and collective self-defense clause. You know that countries are allowed to defend themselves and do so in coalition with others, which to me is a cornerstone of every modern war we've seen. Even Russia right now says, "Oh, the legal argument is they recognize Donbass and Lugansk as sovereign states, and now they ask Russia for support, and now they collectively defend against Ukraine." And it's also, the self-defense clause was used so many times in order to justify US aggressions against other states. Oh, we are just helping to defend the other one collectively. Do you see it? Would you change that one as well?
Not necessarily. I think that the problem comes from the interpretation that has been given to the article, because I think that but by no means there is nothing in the discussions or in the article indicating that these regional mechanisms would eliminate the role of the Security Council. In fact, all these mechanisms, or even countries self-defending by themselves, save the redundancy, they had to communicate to the Security Council, who would then take action. So it was like an intermediary step, more like a cautionary mechanisms before the Security Council could make a decision. But by no means by no means the article can be interpreted in this way when the article clearly states that in the end, all these actions have to receive the final approval of the Security Council. And here, both the NATO treaty and the Inter-American Treaty of Reciprocal Assistance have a fundamental flaw, and it's a clause that I think is absolutely contrary to international law, which is the clause that says, in the case that a certain state is under attack, the other states will consider themselves attacked. And as such, it's very funny because this is bypassing Article 51. If you are under attack, I mean, if we are all under attack, it's not really collective self-defense. Is a collective of states in exercising self-defense on their own because they are all under attack. So the concept of collective self-defense is a group of states backing one state that is under attack. But what the NATO clause says is, no, we are all under attack, even when materially we are not under attack. And the ICJ has said that an aggression is a material situation. So it's not just, oh, I decide that now I'm under attack so I can exercise self-defense. I mean, NATO creates this fiction of an invasion that doesn't exist to legitimize the states to exercise self-defense. Now, if you think it this way, it's a bunch of states exercising self-defense. This is not collective self-defense, as in the terms of the Charter. And the reason to do so is because you can bypass Article 51 because you don't need permission to exercise self-defense. You need permission if you want to exercise collective self-defense. So by declaring everybody as a subject of invasion, I can claim that I'm individually exercising self-defense, and we are all individually exercising self-defense. So we don't have to go by Article 51. So it's fraud of law, if you ask me.
Yeah. The main issues is that countries find not loopholes. They find legalistic reasoning in order then to implement facts as they like. I mean, NATO just implemented a fact, and since there is no court that can judge, I mean, there would be a court that could judge over them, but it would still not limit the power of NATO to do so. But especially viewed from Costa Rica, this is just a very unsatisfactory state of affairs, right? And the beautiful thing about the Costa Rican case is that it shows that individual countries, by unilateral declarations, can actually extricate themselves from this logic to a certain extent. So, in a sense, if we look at the BRICS movement and movement of countries in Asia and in Africa that also are looking for policies that allows them to extricate themselves from these political political games, then I mean Costa Rica is a case to learn from.
Right, because it is also true that the Costa Rica's decision had an impact in the region. Panama abolished its army in 1990. And part of the reasons was that there was absolutely no breath coming from its neighboring country. And then because of the Darien jungle, it's impossible to invade from Colombia, at least on the ground. So, and then Costa Rica was key for the Central American peace process because it was the only country that could mediate there, that it was part of the region, it was not in conflict with anybody, and it was able to bring the parties together and bring the Central American conflict to an end in 1986 or 87, the Esquipulas Treaty, and Esquipulas II Treaty. So, and then if you look at Costa Rica in international organisms, it's normally given preference or the presidency of the table when dealing with issues of peace or demilitarization.